Hello and welcome to another Factorio stream. I just like to check the levels, make sure everything's coming through, bit rates are okay. Yeah, all looks good. Especially this week, I've been having such trouble with my Wi-Fi. Yeah, all looks good. Cool. Right, so bit different this week. Oh, hello. 4321 Ian. How are you? Yeah, a bit different this week. I'm going to load up the Megabase save and show you what I did because I did do a little bit of work during the week. It's really just grinding. Oh, hello, Skyscraper 8 as well. Yeah, so I've really basically during the week I've been grinding outposts. So we've got our purple science build here, and we hooked all that up with trains, and I needed to hook up a whole load of outposts. So what I did during the week is basically make the outposts. So we've got what we got here. We got, in fact, I've turned off all the labels and stuff. No, not pollution. No, not turrets. What am I looking for? Me tax. There we go. So we've got stone brick here, and then we've also got raw stone here, and then we've got a mixed one. Where's the mixed one? Mixed one is up here. So we've got both stone and stone brick here. So those are for the obviously for the rail and the what do you call them, furnaces. So stone and stone brick there. Then we've got a couple of copper. So copper and copper. Don't need a lot of copper, but we might as well. It was just easier to put them in because I got coal there and coal there as well. And then I've got oil there and oil there. So we're probably sorted, in terms of running the base for those resources. The one that I haven't got enough of is iron plate, basically. So they've got that one there. That's a bit of a weird one. That's an old legacy one. So there's one iron plate in there. But then we've got two in there and two in there and two in there and two in there. So there's quite a few iron plate ones set up. But actually, I identified there's quite a nice patch here, 50 million. And there's actually one, some nice close ones as well. And I think we'll need those two as well. And, I can just extend up there and build another outpost there. So, in theory, this is pretty much ready to go. I didn't do any other. I've identified what I need. So, I need an extra copper outpost there. I need an iron one there. This is running out of copper and iron. This is the bus stuff. So, I need to stick some in there. Wasn't there another one? Oh, yes. So, the other thing I've decided to do, it's not what we're going to do today, but I'm going to put a branch in here and take the rail line down the inside of the base there and like punch out of the walls there. Oh, just get rid of the old artillery doing its thing. And then we're going to build white science down the bottom here, basically. So all of the actual buildings for white science. And I used artillery to open this up, and I have cleared out some of the biters. But as you can see, there's loads of them, and it's just going to take ages. And it's all just grinding, really. I have a horrible, well, not horrible. I have a feeling I may just like kill off all the biters because it's just tedium, really, just killing them all off. But yeah, so this is where I'm anticipating doing white science in all of this white science meaning space science, and this is where I want to do gold science. So I actually want to do two things. I want the blue because I'm a bit worried that the trains are doing too much crossing over each other. I need to sort all the junctions out, but we'll have the blue science trains, so the iron and gold, coal and stuff come out here, and probably actually connect up with that because I don't mind them using the same sets of. Oh, is this missing something? What's that missing? Oh, it's missing a inserter. That's annoying. I don't mind them using the same, outposts, but I've got to put a load more outposts in here as well. Right, so basically the grey science, the military science, and the blue science. I don't mind them using the same, set of outposts. It's just there's too many trains going to be crossing over here. There's going to be loads and loads of trains trying to go that way for blue science, so it's better if I take them out there. And loads of trains for grey science going that way, but also the grey science actual beakers coming this way, and the blue science beakers coming this way, and the purple science beakers coming this way. So I need to sort of sort out the rail network so it's less. I mean, I can basically turn this around and have the trains come this way, and then it's. So effectively, what I'll have is I have like an internal network that is the science trains, and then a set of rails heading out to grab out resources for each of the science builds. And then gold science will plop in here, and this is what we're going to do today, really. And then, of course, that'll need filling up with. That'll need filling up with resources as well. So there's a lot to do. I don't know that a lot of it's too interesting though, so I'll have to try and do a lot of the outposts off stream. I think because it gets quite boring doing them on stream. Because all it is, I mean, this is why we're out here. I've started clearing out the biters, and I'll just show you. So I actually created a whole load of new Spidertrons, just with like explosive rockets in them, and all I'm really doing to clear them out is using artillery where I can, so sort of thinning out the herd, and then I'm just like literally. Have I got? Did I turn the? Yeah, so I've not got any roboports on, and just literally clicking like past the the base, and then the Spidertrons run over. Well, running quotes. A lot of the distances are huge now, and it just takes ages to do anything. So when I was doing these outposts, a lot of what I was doing was just like sending the Spidertrons back and forth to gather stuff. So I'd build half an outpost with what they've got, and then I'd have to send all the spiders back again, refill. Oh, there we go. So all they're doing is they're just going through and wiping out the bases. So I need to do all of that for here, all of that for here. So it would just, and I got to do all of that before I can actually build here, and then I got to landfill it all. One of the biggest lessons I've learned from this is if I'm going to do this type of mega base, as in how I've done it, a train world is probably going to be better with a lot less water, and you'd still have to do a lot of landfilling of water, I think. But I mean, more than half of this I have landfilled, and while it's not difficult, it just takes time. And you can imagine I'm going to have to landfill all of those lakes and all of those lakes, and it's just a case of sending the Spidertrons out to do it. Because I got, where are they? Oh, they're up there, are they? Okay. I got all these Spidertrons here that chock full of landfill, so it's not actually. I mean, I landfilled this lake, and it just it's 2 trips basically, but it just takes ages for them to do it and to fill up and then do it again, and it's like it's just grinding. The other thing I did do is I stuck in a load of extra nuclear power. I'm interested. Yes, so railworlds have, as far as I may be wrong on that, skyscraper, but railworlds have less water, I think, not a lot less. But what I would do, what I kind of mean by that is, I would then, if it's not like hugely reduced water, I would reduce the water as well. I would take it way down. But I meant a rail world. The thing with this normal settings is all the resources are sort of too close together and not big enough patches. That's what I'd really want from a. Sorry, I didn't really explain that properly, but that's why I'd want a railway. And a railway, you can make it yourself. You don't have to use the default, but they've kind of done it already. But it's this thing of, I've got lots of small patches, relatively close to the start point, and what I should have done is probably exploited all of them, to make the solar or something. But it takes quite a long distance before you get out to the heavy patches, and that's what I would want. I wouldn't, so this, instead of being 12 million, I'd want to be 25, 30 million, and that would reduce the amount of distance that I've got to go out, and therefore the amount of biters that I've got to clear out. And I say what I would also do, and I think it already does it for Rail World, is reduce the water. So I would have a lot less patches of water, because water is useful for bottlenecks. So when you've got things like that. You can stick a wall across there, stop the biters coming at you, without having to protect all of this distance as well. But I don't have any problems with combat. I never really have. Um, I sort of tech way ahead of the the evolution curve and all that sort of stuff. So I've kind of no problems with defense at all. Um, so just having longer walls, is fine for me. I don't struggle with that side of the game. So um, having a lot less water, because all you need water for is like processing, well, like steam power and making oil and all that sort of stuff. Um, so yeah, you need water, but you don't need as much. And I say I've had to landfill so much of this, and it's not difficult. It's just tedious and time consuming. Um, I mean, I dare to think how big this would be if if I didn't landfill any of the water. This would be, down here, because there's so much that you can't build on. Um, but yeah, so I say that's the sort of longer term plan and what I've done. And so I did stick a load of extra nuclear ones, more in curiosity, really. So the base does run overnight purely on the nuclear. But as you can see, well, it's not really having any UPS impact. Because another thing I also did to try and, because I was a bit worried last time where it was dropping, I was really slowing down, and I think because what I did is I stuck in a load of extra trains, which I was always going to have to do anyway, and they're all just copy and paste and set them going. So it basically meant all of the science was running, and the UPS was fine. There was we didn't drop any frames or anything at all. And that was with all of this extra nuclear in. So I think it's all right. And what I think was causing the drops is basically the overlays. So if you put these in and I scroll out, can you see how massively that drops? I don't know if that's on the... Yeah, there we go. So it drops 10 UPS just from having the current coverage on. So it's obviously however they're doing the overlays is causing it to... And I obviously don't need them permanently, so that's fine. But when I was zooming in and out, I was obviously... Because it has the similar effect, but not quite so staggering with the logistics. And obviously pollution has a drop as well. So it's because it's big basically now. And it's it putting the overlays on the map. It's not the actual calculation of the pollution itself. It's the overlay of putting the pollution on the map. So if I turn all of them on, we go all the way down to about 30. So yeah, I think in terms of performance, we should be okay, because it was sort of running all of the stuff. Yes, so I also put this in. This is like spaghetti special. How I'm going to load up all the science onto belts, and I've decided instead of this, instead of this rather, I'll make it square. So I'll make it 16 by 16. So we'll have too many labs, because I'm not quite producing enough to feed all of that, but that's fine. It's not a problem. That's why I moved this rail, because I used to have a railway train down there. Right, so that's basically where we are on the main base. And as I was saying last week, I wasn't sure if I'd have to sort of bin it off and play maybe Dyson Sphere program instead. But what I decided to do was kind of show you how I'm designing things, because I've never really put it on stream before, and I don't know how interesting this will be, but we'll give it a go. So if we just save this up, you can also see all the workings of my... So I'll call that 54, because that's the stream that we're on. And then what we want to do, you see, is load up this test map, and it will ask us to sync the mods. Okay, because I've got creative mode on it, basically. Keep enabled, yeah, it's all fine. So it'll have to... Okay, so what I'm actually doing, and it'll look different, might chunk a bit as well, is I'm sharing the entire screen. So I normally just share the game gameplay capture, but I'm sharing the entire screen because, and this is my test map basically. So this is where I've been designing and fiddling about with things. I'm thinking of doing another channel where I do like tests, show like tests of Factorio stuff running. And this is, I'll just show you this just out of interest really. But this is me testing out different types of trains. So we've got single-headed trains, one-way trains, and two-way trains of the same sizes. So you've got like 1-1, 2-1, 1-2, 2-2, 1-4, 2-4, 4-4, and then the equivalent but with an extra carriage stuck on the back. And what this basically shows is that they've all got nuclear fuel in as well on these ones. But it basically shows that, because a lot of people, I think, they get into, I've mentioned this lots of times on stream, they get convinced that their particular way of doing trains is like the fastest. And actually, it's a lot more to do with how you design your network than the actual trains themselves. Because when you fire these up, the difference in, and obviously they're running along a test track then, which, that's not an unreasonable distance for a normal sort of an outpost or a, distance to a smelting. And the speed, and it basically goes back and forth, back and forth. And what you find is that actually it didn't make a lot of difference. It does in terms of the ratio of tractor units to carriages, but the whole double-headed versus single-headed is not massively different. These are slower because you've got dead weight, but it's not as much weight as you think. And then what's this up here? This is another test, because one of the things I think is like kind of lost on people as well. These are the different types of fuel with a gigantic train, and wood and coal are exactly the same. When you run a train with wood and run a train with coal, they're exactly the same. Why the heck has that gone off? Ooh, hang on. What's happened there? Is that still working? That's not good. Hang on. Oh dear. Oh, there we go. I just lost my second monitor. I guess the cable must have been loose. Very strange. Or maybe I kicked a cable or something. Right. I don't imagine that dropped out for you guys, but so my screen just went completely blank. Right. Yes. So what I was saying is that basically wood and coal are identical. So when you have these trains, it's sort of instinctively you sort of think maybe the wood is less fuel. It has less total energy in it, but it stacks to twice as big. So actually, a coal-fired train and a wood-fired train are identical, as in the amount of distance they can travel and blah 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 blah. They are literally identical. But these do speed up. So when you get the solid fuel, the rocket fuel, and the nuclear fuel, that sort of shows the boost to the speed. And then this here is my sort of ultimate test of what single-headed versus double-headed, in that if you run these two, the sort of almost received wisdom is that this will be quicker, but because of how I've set this up, and I say that's the point I'm proving, actually it's slower because it's going further, and the difference to the top speed and acceleration, etc., is so tiny that actually this is slower because of the extra distance outweighs it. So I say that was just a load of messing about I was doing. What else we got here? So might as well show you some of this. So this is, where's red science? This was red science. So this is me playing about with how many miners I need at different bonus levels, and how many smelters you can run that through and that sort of thing. And so this is the red science design, and say this is as it is in the main save basically. So this 4 by whatever it is, 10, 12 is it, something like that, with the cogs on the bottom. And I say I've been messing about with train unloading, seeing how best to do it basically. And then the green, I say these are all as per that I've put into the main game, and this is what I do in order to design. And the reason I'm mainly doing it in creative mode, creative mode's a mod, by the way, in case anyone doesn't know. Oh no, yes. So 4321. So basically, I've just called this test map for ease of reference. Creative mode is a mod, basically. So it's a mod that you can download. You can actually, there is actually an editor now in the game proper, so you can use that instead. But I tend to prefer creative mode just because it gives you a few extra tools. So it gives you, I mean, you have cheats and stuff, but you can basically use this magic wand to lay down what you want. And in particular, so for example, if I wanted to put copper ore down, where's my magic wand? See, here we go. If I wanted to put a patch of copper down, you select the copper, and then you just sort of. Oh, why did that not work? No? There you go. I don't know why that didn't pick that up straight away. But you see, you can just plop down a patch of copper, basically. And I think shift to clear it, is it? There you go. Or clear out anything that's there. So it just lets me, when I need a big build, because you can put down terrain as well, and there's probably there you go. So I've slapped down a load of terrain. So when you get a build, a build that is huge and you need the space, you can just landfill this immediately or something, and I say that's all I've been in. But it is a mod. I say it's why I've been doing it as a separate map, basically. There are no biters on this map. I was also playing around with, if we go all the way down here, there's a Spidertron where I've been just like going down and seeing how far to go, because all of the settings are default. So it's like, normal settings, and how far you have to go out to get the big patches. And this is what I was saying about I'd do a railway next time. Because to reliably get the big patches, you have to go quite a long way, And you can see. I mean, I don't know if you don't know how they've done the map. Basically, it's like a curve of like density of stuff. So as you go further and further out, the patches don't get any bigger because of that's the how the way that the algorithm works. Patches don't really get any bigger, but they get more and more dense. So you see that's that sort of size, 92 million, and then this one's similar sort of size and 85 million. So that wasn't a very good example. 100 million there. So you see they're not really getting any bigger, but they do get denser, and it's different for the different types of patches. Because in default anyway, the iron patches seem to get bigger quicker than the copper patches. And like stone never really gets all that big, even all the way down here. So, these are only 50 million, whereas these are 100 million. You see. And so that's obviously a function of how they've done the algorithm. But you see it's fairly uniform as well. I don't know if you can sort of tell that from scrolling out, but you see it's like roughly 50-50 water and land, no matter how far out you go. What else have I done? So that's green. This is blue down here, and there's lots of fiddling about. I ended up doing it properly in the game itself, but I was fiddling about with like compact, oil to where's heavy to light to sulfur. You see, so it's all sort of self-contained. And then for plastic, I say I didn't actually do all of these, but there would then be plastic was a completely separate build. So it's a case of feeding in, crude oil rather than petroleum into the system, because I was debating which way to go. So the most recent one, of course, is this one, which is purple. Oh, I've not put a radar on this. The other thing it gives you with creative mode is like mega radars and stuff, so you can find uncover large pieces of the map. And if we go down here, actually, I'll plop one down. This will, so there's a possibility this might cause the game to crash. So there's just a warning in case it goes tits up. But basically, this is an even bigger radar that reveals like a vast swathe of the map. So I'll plop it on, and it will reveal the map, and it may cause the game to crash. So a bit of a warning there. I say not initially, but what it's doing is revealing a massive swathe of the map. Oh, it looks like it's not even dropped us below 60. Okay, I guess that's because nothing else is happening. But I've obviously put the radar. Oh, it's not updating the display there. You see, so I put the radar there. So although it's only revealing this part, it's actually revealing all of that square. It's only halfway. There's only, half of it's already revealed. I say that's kind of what I've been doing, just to see what it looks like and see how uniform it is, and see what happens with the ore patches and stuff. But say what I would want if I was doing this again would be much more denser patches closer to the base, because I love playing with trains, but clearing the biters is just so tedious. It's just so boring. So yeah, I can't actually, until it's finished doing that, I can't actually do anything. So yeah, so that's creative mode. There is another one as well that does basically the same sort of thing. In fact, I'll show you. What this does is it adds an extra tab here, and you get all sorts of cheaty things. So there's no biters on this map, but if you wanted to test out biters, you wanted to say test out how many turrets you need to kill off a behemoth biter, then basically it lets you plop down biters. And I mean, there's some weird things in there, attractors, so that you can get them to path to certain things and all sorts of stuff like that. And you've also got, like for example, that super pollution module. You can use that to test out like realistic biter attacks, in the sense that you can spam out loads of pollution, attract all the biters, and to that pollution, and defend, attack them, and all that sort of stuff. So you've got all sorts of options there. You've also got various things that all just give you infinite power, or these chests gives you, that's a duplicating chest, so it'll copy up everything that's in the chest. So you don't have to worry about moving resources around and all that sort of stuff. I say there is a built-in editor mode that you can do that with as well, but you say I like this because I used this before they really had that. So yeah, so this is the Purple Science build. It's differently oriented than what's in the game. In the game, it's sort of pointing that way, whereas here it's pointing that way. But it is identical. We've got the prod modules there, the rail there, and then this here. And say I came back and redid this, because what I had originally was these red circuits were in here, and so I was doing all sorts of complicated routing round and blah blah blah. So what I've been trying to do with the designs is try and minimize the number of beacons while also having 12 beacon builds. So there are 12 effect sources affecting that furnace, and that's uniform throughout, so you get the maximum speed boost. But I've then tried to sort of minimize the number I need by overlapping as many of the beacons as I possibly can, and I say just to try and reduce the amount of power, because they require an enormous amount of power. So what we want to do then is make a gold science build. Where's a good place to do that? Maybe if we come just straight up and do it here. Yeah, let's do that. So the other thing you get loads of legs, and I mean these you can use proper legs and stuff, cheaty legs, and do it that way if you want. So what we'll do is we will landfill a big chunk. So if I go to over here, like this, and then we grab, say, dirt. I just want to check that works. Yeah, cool. So if I start sort of somewhere here, we just drag a big swathe across there, and that'll give us a big chunk of land to play with. And I say it's this ability to, just sort of flatten the land, as it were, that's been the main useful thing about the mod. So let's do somewhere up here. Has that just killed it? No, there we go. So it doesn't change the map until you go back and look at it. So that's why it doesn't look the same there. But now we've got a big chunk of land. We can also then kill off the trees, because we can just go, like that. There you go. So we can just hold Shift key, and this will just sort of get rid of all of the trees in this chunk as well. And I could have spawned the map, without all this stuff. It could have just been basically almost infinite water and stuff. But I wanted to do some other testing. Did that work? Yeah, there we go. So we got a nice big chunk of land. Now the next thing I do, I usually clear a bit of space, and then hopefully this will come through on the stream. We will. Oh, I got 1 million security alerts. Brilliant. I know what that is. That's my Wi-Fi. Where's the lab calculator? There it is. I think the green water is polluted. Yeah, so it is. Basically, I'm not sure if I left pollution on. I think I did. We'll leave that for a moment. But yeah, it turns the water green when it's polluted. It's quite a nice touch. It doesn't mean anything. It's only, I think, Bob's and Angels, where there is like a polluted water mechanic. But default game, it's just the same. It just turns it green, basically. Right, so this is Factorio Lab Calculator. If you've not heard of this before, it's a really useful resource. Even if you're building a small base, you have a load of settings that you can set. And it does have some presets that you can use, and the amount of bonus that you get and all that sort of stuff. So I've set this up, basically. Why is it not? I'll leave that. But basically, it lets you set what you have as default in each of the types of machine. So I've got prod modules where I can. Obviously, some things won't take prod modules. And then we've got beacons with speed as default. And as I say, I'm going there for a 12 beacon build, basically. So obviously, these are bigger and they get 16. And the same with the rocket as well. That's got like 20, is it? Something like that. But yeah, so that's all been set up, ready to go. And what I do is, the aim of the whole series is to try and get 5,000 science per minute. Okay. Now, therefore, what we want to do, you have this basically selector that lets you add in what you want to build. So I'll just show you with like normal. So if you were, for example, wanting to do, say, 500, I shouldn't have done that first, sorry. So you've got a units thing there where it's either seconds, minutes, or hours. Most people work on the minutes. It's bumped that up automatically. We don't want whatever that is, 30,000 science a minute. What we want is a normal sort of big base, big bus base, maybe 500 items a minute of, say, red beakers. You can also do, you can do belts. So you could do maybe 2 belts of red science if you wanted, or something like that. or you could base it on trains, do wagons, and you can do it literally by calculating the number of factories that you want to do. But I say the aim for this series is 5,000 science. But I say if we just for an example say you were wanting to do 500 red beakers a minute, then this tells you what you need basically. So you would need 3.8 assembly machines making your red science, and you would need 0.3 machines making your gear wheels. Now, obviously, you can't actually do that. You can't lay down 0.8 of a machine. So what you do is you round up, okay? And what I usually suggest, and obviously that's a 12 beacon build. On a bus, you're probably only going to get maybe sort of 6 beacons or so. So actually, you need more like 7 or 8 machines. How I do it, and my suggestion for it is you find whatever round number or nice number you want to do, and look at what that is, and then basically adjust the number to round that off. So, for example, here, if you put it up to say about 520, maybe 530, so that then is 4. Okay, and the reason I say that is basically it can be a bit difficult to round everything up mentally and get it right because here we need, so if we turn that on, you would need 1.8 furnaces and 11.6 miners. Whereas if we put that back down to, say, the 500, well, it's not made a huge difference, but it's 11 miners rather than 11.6. So you might look at that and say, right, well, I need 4, and I need 1, and I need 2, and I need 11. But actually, if you're going to keep them fed, you would need 12 because that should be 11.8. Yeah, so that would be 12. So it's easy to miss things like that unless you round it off in such a way that you're going for. So, for example, if we're doing 5,000 red, I always get that wrong. Green, say 5,000 green. Now, what it does then is it like combines them. It makes an assumption that you are going to do centralized smelting and centralized smelting, basically. So, and also, I mean, sort of also centralized production. So, basically, it is assumed that all of our iron smelting is happening at the same place, and to feed it, you would need 68. To feed 5,000 of each of those, you would need a total of 68 furnaces. That's not how I'm doing my builds. I'm doing smelting on site at the ore patches, and also production close to, or so steel smelting is always at the science. So the way I'm doing it is to do them individually. So if you were taking an approach of, right, I want to centralize all of my smelting, then you would add everything on, and you would get, because of the maths differences. So not, where we had, so that 6.7 is actually, so if we turn that off, 2.7 for red and 4.0 for green. So if you were doing centralized cog production, you would need 7 machines. But actually, like I'm doing, you need, and I say it's not how I've quite have done it, I'll get to that. You would need 3, wrong thing, and 4. So you need different numbers at different builds. I say that's how I've been doing it. The other thing that I've tended to find, and it's because of how the maths works in the game, is that there is a number, and I'm pretty sure it's 5,470. No, is that set on the right beacon number? What was it? 500 and... Yeah. Was it 370? That was it, was it? There you go. 5,370. That gives round numbers for basic, in terms of machines that you need for basically all of the sciences, apart from blue. So 5,370 does not give a round number there, and white as well. So it's 6.7 rockets. So, but as a general thing, if we pick, say, purple science, it gives exactly 56 machines. Yeah, so it's obviously a quirk of how it's doing how the maths works in terms of number of prod modules and number of beacons, basically. So what we want to design today is, or start designing, is gold science. We can take these off because, I say, I'm doing individual builds. So I'm just looking at what I need to do gold science, and all of the resources I'm doing with separate, ore patches and localized smelting and all that sort of thing. So there are some things we kind of don't need to worry about until it comes to the issue of putting in outposts. Right. So what I'm doing with this, and why I'm using this initially, is to work out the structure of the build. Okay, so for example, with the purple, it's 56 assembly machines. Okay, what that actually means is it's like a nice round number. Can I bring up a calculator? No, wrong thing. Calculator, there we go. So just a very simple thing. 56 divides nicely by 4 into 14. Yeah, so that's why the build is 4 by 14. Okay, now you can do the same sort of thing. In fact, I think it's exactly the same number, is it? Yeah, so for gold, it's 56. So we could do 4 by 14. But when we get to gold, it's so much more, the things we need are so much more complicated that a build like a 4 by 14 is actually a bit of a hamstring for us, because basically what I'm doing, I say, I'm adding in products that I don't really need in order to balance the numbers up and get some nice structures. And what I actually am going to do with this is we're going to do 8 by 7, I think it is, or is it 8 by 7? So 56 divided by 8 gives us 7. Okay, so that's a nice set of divisions. So we need something that's 8 by 7 sort of thing, or the other way around, I think. And the reason for that is that what I then do, right, is round all of these numbers off to the degree that will give us either 8 or 7. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do first is build that 8 by 7 array. Okay, I say this is where creative mode really comes in useful, because I don't need to build any of those. I don't need to manufacture any of those assemblers. Right, so we've got our thing here. Let's take them off. We'll go up the... In fact, actually, where is the top? Oh, that's fine. So we'll go somewhere sort of in the middle. At the top. You see, it's taken out the patches as well, you see. So it's just literally blanked it, basically. Now, I've been using a standard design. Oh, that's the wrong thing. For the assemblers. Is it in my book? Yeah, here we go. So, where is it? Oh, missed it. No? It's here somewhere. I might have just copied and pasted this, because that's the same stuff, isn't it? Have I got... That's purple. Ah. I've obviously not been... There's nothing in that one. Right, so we'll just copy and paste it then. So basically it's exactly the same structure for all of the science builds. So we'll pop that down. You see it instantly plops it down. There's no bots or anything like that. It will just, goes immediately. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to tweak this, because first of all, we need it to be gold science. Okay. Now the things we want to come in, let's see if we can bring this over again. The other thing to note about... Why is that not doing that instantly? I'm going to have to go through that millions of... It's there, isn't it? That one. No. I say the security alerts, it's because of the bloody Wi-Fi. It's absolute pain in the bum. Yes, so one of the things to note with this is the number of belts that we need. So we actually are going to produce, with 56 machines, only 2 belts of science, although they're going to be, I say, more divided up, and we'll get to that in a minute, later. But what we need to make gold science is robot frames, low-density structures, and processing units. And we notice here that we only actually need to fill half a belt of robot frames. And we only need to fill 1 belt of blue circuits and 1.5 belts of low-density structures. So the issue we actually have is to basically divide things up and get things across, rather than, we don't need like 10 belts of low-density structures. So your question there, 4321, Ian, can you save your blueprints from the creative mod to the game? Yes, indeed. So all you have to do is the old export and import blueprint string thing. In fact, can I bring that up on here, say? There you go. So you got your export to string. The only thing that counts, and this is what I did, I think I told you before, this was my original thing, and it had all these in here, and this was just chaos with belts with purple. And obviously I was doing a different design and that sort of thing. So this was my original purple design. I blueprinted it for in case I messed everything up, and then I actually imported the design I'd been working on in the main save. And all you have to do is you just have to be careful that you don't include any of the cheat structures. So if any of them get sort of in your blueprint, you have to take them out, because if you try and put the cheat structures into the main game, it obviously doesn't know what they are, and it'll either then sort of cause it'll want to enable the cheat mode, or it just won't work, basically. So you have to be careful about including any of the cheaty structures in your blueprint. But yeah, it's just a normal blueprint. So you would export to string, tells you what the string is, and you just copy and paste that across to your main game. You can do them in your your blueprint library as well. You can use them for the game blueprints, my blueprints, that sort of thing. But that's a little risky, because of course if you do include the cheaty structures, because you're using them in your creative mode game, and then forget, they won't sort of work properly in the main game. So the basic point there, what I was getting at, was that we've got lots of options for bringing stuff in. So this, in terms of outputting material and inputting material, everything is going to be coming in relatively small volumes, and we're going to have 3 options of where to bring stuff in. So we can take stuff out at the top there without any problems, basically, because it's the easiest one to do without having any struggles in terms of getting the material across. So basically, we want to, in fact, we don't even need stack inserters, because each machine works quite slowly, even with all the speed beacons. But this is just my standard way of outputting material from the science ones, or the side one, basically, and I always make sure that's on there with the power thing. And what we'll do then is just copy this up, and I say the big advantage with this is I don't need any of these machines. It just creates them out of nowhere. So what we're probably going to need is the 8 to be the bottom one, because what I'm currently thinking is to say we've got 3 things we need to bring in: blue circuits, or feed into these blue circuits, robot frames, and low density structures. And low density structures, is it going to work? There we go. Low density structures require the most machines. So this is going to, we'll get to that in a minute. It's going to require 114 machines, where that's only 38, and that's only 38 as well. So it's the low density structures that is the higher volume. So let's give ourselves a bit more of a chance by having it be the 8 side, and let's put it on the bottom. Okay, so we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. And we need it to be 8 by 7 to get the 56. So we do that. What's that? That's 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, obviously, they're all blinking away and flashing away. And what I usually do is basically put a little thing on each of these to eat the science, basically, so that we can run it, and optimize it essentially. So what I say, I usually put a little thing here with a bunch of, stack inserters, and then you've got this void chest which just eats things. This just disappears things that go into it. So put one of them in. We'll copy that, and then we will copy this up for each of these, like that. And then any science we produce will just disappear, basically. So we can keep it running infinitely. We've got the power issue, so we want this active energy source. Plop this down, say in the middle somewhere there. I might just plop a radar in as well, just so I can keep an eye on everything. And this then powers everything, and it has infinite power. So you can just, you can have literally infinite machines powered by this one active energy source. And so this reveals just a very large area of the map. Just, it's just easier, basically. Right, so that is structurally, if we do that, we've got 56 machines, and we've got them arranged 7 by 8. Okay, so what we then need to do, I should clear some of them out, shouldn't I? As alert warnings. What we then need to do is basically decide, as I say, well, let's go with the low density structures, because it is the sort of simplest, in the sense that all we need to do is feed in copper, steel, and plastic bars. Okay. Now, plastic bars I've done several builds for, so I know I can produce them in pretty easy numbers, and it's easiest to produce them away from the main structure. Yeah, so we won't include plastic, the chemical labs or any of that stuff in this design. Copper plate, I am doing local smelting, so I don't actually need to produce copper plate on site. I can just feed that in. Steel, however, is a local production. We don't want that. In fact, we don't even need that. So what we need to think about is that if we're going to lay down or have 114 machines and say that needs a tweak, then we're going to also need 91 steel steel furnaces. But it's only 2.1 belts worth of materials. So what that tells us is that if we've got a width of 8, then we can have as many down as we want, because we only need 90-ish. So whatever that ends up being, it's like 11 times 8 is about 90, isn't it? We can do 11 machines in a row. All we've got to worry about is feeding enough iron plate into every single smelter. We can't possibly saturate the belt, because 90 machines, 90 furnaces will only produce 2.1 belts worth, and we're dividing it across 8, if that makes sense. So what I actually do here is, we know we've got 8, right? We've got a block of 8, right? So what I usually do is, get the calculator up, is take 114.2 and divide that by 8. Okay, and that tells us it's 14.275. Now, we can't have 0.275 of a machine, so instead we can have 8 by 15. So 120 machines. So it's quite a bit more than than 114, but it's not that much more. It's effectively an extra row, basically, and it's easiest to do complete rows than it is to do broken rows, I found, because broken rows you have to do balancing, whereas if you do equal numbers of rows, it's automatically balanced. So what we can do in order to get 120 is add on some low density structures, and it's obviously not 5,370. Let's have a guess at, say, 100. So it's still not quite there. It went up by about 3, didn't it? So if we go out 200. Oh, there we go. So 120.2. Okay. So we could tweak that down. It sort of doesn't matter, I don't think. 195. But that tells us what we need to support that is 96 furnaces. Okay. 96 furnaces divided by 8 is 12. That's a nice number. So we know we need 15 rows of low density structures, and then we need 12 rows of furnaces. Okay, so what was that? That was 15 and 12. Okay, right. So in order to do that, what we want to do is we want to. Now I didn't actually. It's funny. I thought I had blueprints with all the smelters in. Maybe I just deleted them at some point. Because they're easy enough to just copy and paste. I mean, that's sort of it, but not really. Oh, let's just copy and paste it. So, let's find, this has got smelters on. Oh, actually, let's do, so what we can just do for the low density structures first is plot one of these in, change this to low density structures, take that out, and we then need to decide where are we feeding in the low density structures, basically, because we got 3 options. It might actually be easiest, thinking about it, to take it out of the middle, because isn't this the most voluminous one? 1.5 belts, you see, but it's, I mean, it's divided by 8, so it's not even half a belt. So, because I think basically, you know, we've got all sorts of options for feeding the material in, but I need to be careful that I don't overlap too many things, if that makes sense. So we can have, effectively, we could have, say, blue circuits coming that way. We could have like the robot frames coming, you know, obviously with undergrounds coming that way, and then these we could have, say, coming up this way. Would that help us? Yeah, I think that would work. And then we could basically have the steel coming up the middle, if that makes sense. Yeah, I like that idea. Oops. Have I got all the legs on? No. Yeah, so if we say that this is going to output low density structures up the side here, like this, to these machines, then we need this little structure here as the output. And then what we can also do, since we know that's how we're going to do it, oops, you have like a default like mega speed boost. So that's why I'm crashing into things, basically. So that's the output. So we can get rid of that. We will have steel, as I say. I mean, how many steel does it need? What's the ratios? It's copper's the big one. Copper's the one it needs a lot of. And it only needs 2 steel plate. So I'm tempted, because we need so much copper, I'm tempted to combine, because we know both plastic and copper are going to come in from outside. They're going to be trained in, basically. So I'm tempted to have as many options as I can with copper. And what that means is essentially reserving the middle, all of the middle. because then I can do things like I can have, you know, oops, you know, more things coming along the middle to feed material in, because that's the one it's going to use a lot of, and to side load steel on here with plastic on the other side, and that we will then do something like this for oops, wrong way around. I'm going to put both on. We probably won't need it, but in fact, maybe if I do that, that's probably better. Basically, that gives it the option of feeding in steel and plastic from, you know, like as much as it can and it needs, and I say then leaves me lots of options for doing, because I can bring copper in, say here, like that, and have it loading in there, or double it up here. I can also bring it in, you know, at the side. So because it's the most volume heavy one, that gives me all those options. So how many of these did we need? It was like 15, wasn't it? I'll leave that in there for the time being. That's just because for the repeat. In fact, I don't. No, that one's okay because I got it there. That's fine. What we will do is we will put in the option for copper. Oops. Don't know why that lagged. Here, in the assumption that we will only need one lane of copper. And if we do need more, we can just add them. But so this is a mixed steel and plastic, and this is copper, basically. So we'll copy this up. And we needed 15, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3. So if we do 3, and then copy that 5 times. So that's 6, 9, 12, 15. Let's just check that. 15. And then if we copy this, so big I can't see the top and the bottom. So we then want to copy that across. This is usually where the errors happen, where I accidentally copy the wrong thing or double stamp it down and get it wrong, basically. So what we also need to do is just copy. In fact, we can copy the whole thing again and just plop that on top there, because we obviously need that feed in for the low density structures for all of them. So we'll just copy all of that. And so this is the big advantage of creative mode, because I don't need any of this material. You've seen when I've been building it in the main, on the main save, where I have to go back and forth, 5 times or whatever, because I don't have all the belts. So I will just check again, just so that we're not being. Oh, it's the calculator I need. Why have I got all these security? It's basically. I say the Wi-Fi, I'm having to turn it off and on all the time, and then it sort of detects anything else connecting to it as like a threat, basically. There's a million of them, aren't there? Crikey. And I say it then just seems to go through some iterative loop where it does it a million times over. Right, so we then needed, let's get the calculator up, we then needed, so we needed 15, 8 by 15 of the low density structures, and we need 12 smelters. Now, with the smelters, as I say, we know we want plastic coming up one side of it. In fact, I'll just copy and paste that again from somewhere else. Let's do purple. Let's Let's just grab the basic structure. This is going to be different though. So we'll plop this down. Just so that I've got the... Whoops. Oh. Where am I speak? Oh, there. So this is just the basic thing of... Oh, why does that not have any prog modules in it? There we go. So in theory, we would have the power there. Now, from experience from the purple, we need to feed it in iron plate, like in several directions, basically, because the difficulty with this is that it requires, like, you know, the 1:5 ratio. I mean, it's not because of the modules, but the 1:5 ratio means that it's actually quite a lot of iron plate that we need to feed in. So if we fed it in from the bottom, definitely none of the iron plate would reach these end machines. So we also need to feed it in, like, from the side. Now I've already set up copper to be delivered on this side, so ideally we want the bonus iron plate coming in from that side, is one I think. And we also want to side load. Let's do it. Because this is the output. So if we do that, yeah, and we just want to side load. Now, which side do I want to load onto? If I do it on that side, because there's nothing, because we've got the power thing there. So I think if I side load on there, yeah, and then when I load the plastic in, I'll have to side load, you know, the other way, basically. Okay, now as I say, we want 2 lots of iron plate coming in, and we ideally want one of them coming in here so that we can feed it that way. In fact, it might be easier to do something like that, maybe. No, if I do that, then I can also do... do that. So what I'm thinking is we try and concentrate all of the iron plate loading for this steel here on the left hand side, basically. So the ones that are going to feed, you know, the stations that will feed this will also be the stations that feed this, and then I can have a nice bit of symmetry as well of the loading in there. And this isn't because it needs to, it's that some of these lanes will run out of material, basically. So we needed 12 of these. Now we have to do a slight tweak to that in that. So that should copy there. Is everything connected? Always best to try and check. Yep, looks like it. So we can copy this one over here. No problem. Like so. And then we can copy this once, but we'll have to do a slight correction to it because we've got this belt here, basically. So we don't want any of that. There we go. Oh, no. There we go. If you see the bots flying out occasionally, it's because if I'm stood in the way, the creative mode can't put it down. And so I just have some bolts in case, in case I'm stood in the way and it needs to plop them in. Right, so we've got 2 there, but it's this one we want to copy up again. So we do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think we will just check. 12 rows of smelters for a total of 96. So, as I say, what we can do is, as I say, I've made loads of like plastic builds, so I know how to do that, how to get those lanes of plastic. But what we need to do is turn iron plate into steel, basically. And we need to turn steel, copper, and plastic into low density structures. And I could set up all of the structures to do that, or, which is what we're going to do, we can just cheat, basically. So what you do, or what I've been doing, there's different ways of doing this, but we use a duplicating chest and one of these super loaders. Now these are actually in the game. These are like in the default in vanilla game, but you don't get access to them. I think there was one version of the tutorial where these existed. No, there was actually, yeah. When they tried to do the story-based tutorial, they had these. It was one of my criticisms of the tutorial in that it was giving you something that then isn't in the default, vanilla game. It's just very weird thing to do, because a new player would be like, well, where is that? How do I do that? But what it does is it takes stuff automatically out of any chest or structure. It's the chest basically. It's connected to, and just outputs it at maximum density. So if we put iron plate in here, then this what you do is you copy it into the first thing, and then it just fills the chest automatically. And you see as the superloader is taking stuff out, it's just filling it back up again. And the superloader outputs it at maximum density. So these will all now kick in. And we basically just need to copy that up. So what we also want, we want a similar thing here for plastic. Yeah, so we go plastic on that side, steel on that side. And then we just copy, paste that. Now, it won't copy the recipes over when we do this copy and paste. But what we can just do is just the old shift right click, shift left click. And it'll stick all of them in. Shift right click, shift left click. Yeah. And we already know we only needed, I think it was like 5 lanes of plastic. So hopefully, because that's 1, 2, 3. In fact, that might be was it 5 lanes of plastic it needs? You see, it's done more of them. It's probably my phone. It keeps connecting to the network, and it's just going, oh, the phone's connecting. Wrong thing. No, that one there. So, how many lanes? So actually, I was wrong about that, wasn't I? That won't work. Because that's 5.4 full lanes of plastic. And what I've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 half lanes of plastic. So that's not enough plastic. That's a bit annoying. Let's hook the copper up and see that works. Because it was, how many lanes of copper for this? So it's 21 lanes of copper. Yes, I'm going to need multiple axes, aren't I? So basically, we've only got 15 machines, and we need 21 lanes of copper. Well, 22 actually. So each one needs multiple lanes of copper. Now we can do that. It's not too much of a problem, as I say, but I try to get away with as few as I can, basically, in the hope that that'll kind of optimize it. So what we can actually do here is swap some of these over, like this. Yeah, that should be better. Because I can actually extend that up there like that, but so it not going to make a lot of difference really. Oops. But what we can do is get our deconstruction planner, put that on there, and disappear. I don't need any of the stacks if I'm doing multiple lanes in. So get rid of all of them. And then copy and paste. Well, let's do the first one. Do this here. Oops. Like that. And then copy and paste that down again. It's going to be a bit weird about it because there's difference in belts basically, but should work out. I say this is kind of how I've been doing all of them, in the sense that it's quite a trial and error process. Right, so that's that. And then we can stick copper on all of these. Like this, like that. So if I just copy that up first. Oops. Okay, and we'll put a bit of copper in there. Copy and paste that one down. There we go. So some of these should start making low density structures. And what we need to look basically is, do the ones at the end get enough copper? And they do appear to be getting enough copper. It will all grind to a halt fairly soon because obviously these are only getting low density structures. They're not getting everything else they need. But they are getting copper. They're also getting plastic. So why is that oh no, there we go. So they're getting plastic and it runs out sort of here-ish. It's just because it was stacked up on the belt, basically. Yeah, so we run out of plastic. So, half a lane of plastic really isn't enough. Okay, so what we can do instead then is perhaps get rid of that. I mean, there's two options really. We could feed it in directly. Oh, it looks like there's a belt error there of some description. What's going on there? Oh, that's entirely the wrong way around. Why only that one though? Weird. Okay. We need to feed up more plastic, basically. So, what we can do instead is have an entire lane of plastic coming up. Now, where would be a good place for that? Might be better, if I'm totally honest, to feed that up the middle as a full lane. And then we'll have the steel coming up the side. Because only a small amount of steel is needed. But to do that... Why is there a belt there? I mean, I could just stick it on the bottom temporarily. Because we can output the steel. I mean, it's only half a lane, so I don't actually need to do this. But what the hell? Output the steel like this, basically. Have that in there. Like that. So that comes from there. Oh, it's not any plastic, is it? Okay. Okay. So, what we can do... if we sort this one out, so this eventually will be a full lane of plastic. And this will be the output for it. So that one I think is structured how we need it to be. Yeah, okay. So all we need to do is get rid of everything. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Is that right? Yeah. And get rid of everything. I just look, they were all running fine, weren't they? And I was only feeding in one row of iron plate. How many rows of iron plate do we actually need? 9. Okay. So one had... Oh no, you see what I mean? It's not... It's 8 that we've got. So we do need slightly more than 1. Oh, okay. Right, okay. So I need to sort that as well. Why is that facing the wrong way? Oh, no, it's facing the right way, that's right. So this is now outputting to a belt there. And that'll be iron plate. Yeah, okay. So we can now copy this one up again. Something like that, is it? No. Like that. Prop this over here. Do. And if I plop it in there, edit. Oh. That should have a belt there, shouldn't it? Yeah. Hopefully this is sort of making sense. I say I've been sort of doing this for all of the builds, and so I'm sort of used to the bizarreness of me doing it. So if it doesn't sort of make sense, then do shout. But so I'm hoping it sort of makes a little bit of sense conceptually, if not, you know, if I'm doing it too quick or whatever. And there are, I mean, there's assumptions going on here. Obviously, I wouldn't actually be producing whatever that is, 8 lanes of plastic. It's only going to be like 6 or something. So these aren't going to be full lanes, but that kind of doesn't matter. The basic idea is we need to feed in a certain number of lanes of stuff that we're producing elsewhere. So I'm working out the structure of the belts, essentially, to feed that in. It would obviously be a lot simpler if I was doing bots. But I'm not. I'm trying to stick to belts because I enjoy belts more, to be honest with you. Right, so we've now got multiple lanes of iron plate coming through. There you go. So you see that's running very, very low. So we give it extra iron plate at the end here. What we could probably get away with, actually, is not having all of these and just having one or two of the side loading. But it's going to make little difference in the grand scheme of things. So basically, we've now got plastic running through the middle because it needs quite a lot of plastic. We've got steel. Oh no, what we're lacking is that bit there on all of these. So we'll just stick that in, and they will then all have steel as well. Obviously, some of them are getting steel from what that belt had left on it. So we can then copy all of that. So this is why I do it in creative mode, because it's like, well, the biggest thing, to be honest with you, is more to do with I've done that one belt slightly differently. Okay, I had to fix that. More to do with the material on the belts, because when you pick them up in the normal game, well, that's completely wrong. What have I done there? Pick them up in the normal game, you get an inventory full of rubbish that you've then got to do something with. So this has got all skew-if here. But in this mode, you can just set the logistics set so that you always have the exact number, and when you pick more up, it just disappears it. I don't know why I've done that. So everybody should be running, with the exception of the fact that everybody is now full up. Cool. Okay, so we need to do another build. Or another bit of the build. It just keeps spamming out those connection things. Right, okay. Right, so what we can then look at is one of the other things. Oh, let's do... Let's do blue circuits. So what I'm doing is by clicking on it, it enables them, basically. So it turns them on if you've got them highlighted. And it does do, so it does add things together. So that's one of the reasons I disable them. So this needs more plastic. So that's fine for the red circuits. Sulfuric acid is going to be a tricky one, but we don't need huge volumes of that. It's just more feeding it in is going to be tricky, because we need 38 machines. Now, 38 machines does not divide up nicely by whatever we're doing. So it's 7 this time, because it's along the side rather than the bottom. But 38 divided by, well, let's do 38.1 actually. 0.1, no. What have you done there? You can get, there is a mod for a calculator in Factorio, but I just actually use the default one. So that's 5.4. So it looks like 6 is what we're going to need to do. So we would be doing 6 by 7, which is 42. So we need to pump this up to 42. So we need to add in blue circuits to make it 42. And for not 41, so we want, say, 250? No? 260? Yep, there we go. So we'll be making 260 more, in quotes, blue circuits. We won't, because the machines will just stop for a bit, because of how it works, basically. But also, we find that gives us a nice round number of red circuits. Green circuits is possibly going to be a trickier proposition. We may need to think about a separate green circuit build. I've been incorporating it in all the builds so far. So we may be able to do that, but I'm not sure. Right, blue circuits then. So we need 42 blue circuit machines. They're going to eat lots and lots of green circuits, but not quite so many red circuits, basically, because we need to feed in only, and we're only producing, a total of 1.1 belts worth of blue circuits across 7 belts. So say they're all thinly divided. To feed that, we only need 1.5 belt of red, so that's not too much of a problem. We can sort of overproduce to our heart's content there, but we need to feed in 17 lots of green circuits. Now 17 is not a good number in terms of our production here. We're only going to have 6 by 7, and yet we want 17. So if we had 2 rows, well, we don't actually, because some of them are red circuits. That's a point. So it's 15. So no, it doesn't even work there, does it? That's annoying. What we could do is one of the builds where it's symmetrical and divide it in 2. Would that work? That would probably work. Because we're basically going to have 6. Well, in fact, we might do alternates, maybe. That might be the easiest way of doing it. So we're going to have 7 rows, or 7 columns as we're doing it, of blue circuits. And we need to feed in a total of 15 lanes of green circuits into them. And so that's more than 2, basically. So we've got, if we fed 2 lanes of blue circuits into each, green circuits into each, column of blue circuits, we wouldn't actually keep the machines running. Now, we do have the thing that we want to overproduce the blue, but really we want to try and keep it filled with green circuits, because what will actually happen, because those are so close, what will actually happen is that the machines in the middle will be starved, because, and we could set up circuits to get around this, but the machines try and insert twice as many products as the next round of production needs. So when it needs 20 green circuits, it tries to put 40 in. So it'll effectively mean that the machines in the middle, or furthest from where the belts come in, will end up starved, because the inserters will always be trying to put more stuff into the machines than they need. And I say I can get around that eventually with circuits if I need to. But what we can do instead is divide it in 2. So we could have 3.5 of the machines being fed from the top and 3.5 of the machines being fed from the bottom. And effectively that's like twice as much feed in. So 4 lanes per machine, per column, which gives us enough leeway. Hopefully that makes sense. I know, because I've done quite a few of them, I know what I'm saying, but I say I'm not really sure that is it understandable. Now, we were going to feed in from the side, I think. And what we want to change this to is blue circuits, and we might as well have them come in like that. Yeah, because we can feed them in there, you see. Like that. Yeah, okay. The question with these is getting the sulfuric acid in. Because what we need to feed in for these is red circuits, and that's relatively easy, and green circuits, but we need 2 lanes of green circuits. How am I going to do that? So let's see. If we put the because what we can do, we can just have a red circuit machine here, and it's way overproducing. But that's fine. It just simplifies things for us a bit, and we could probably have. Because what I need to think is I've got a sulfuric acid pipe doing something like that, going up the column. So how then do I get red circuits across? What I could do, because it was, what we could do is have 42 red circuit machines. And so if we produce, massively overproduce red, and if this is copper cables, and then basically this would then be symmetrical, so, or, like rotational, no, wrong one, that one. So that's rotationally symmetric. Because you see, basically, because it's going to be easier, I think, in terms of output, to have these output here. Yeah. Let's do that. Like this. Yeah, okay. Now, if I did do that, does that help me with sulfuric acid? Because we could have that. No, that'd be horrible, wouldn't it? So yeah, if the sulfuric acid was coming in there, that's output in there. I mean, we could start using long-handed inserters, maybe. Not a fan of that. They don't operate very quickly, but it only uses 2, isn't it? Doing a good job explaining. Oh, good. I do worry some of these because I get sort of wrapped up in my head, as it were, and carried away with playing it, and I'm almost muttering to myself rather than trying to explain to you guys what's going on. We're on VOD number 9. I learned a bunch. Now I just need to get a PC that can run the game. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly well optimized, the game. You don't actually, if you just want to play, and do, say, and launch a rocket. Hopefully that's not me. There's somebody tooting outside. If you just want to launch a rocket, you can play it on like pretty low spec machines, and you can do things like, so if you turn off pollution, if you turn off biters, those are quite heavy in terms of resources, in terms of UPS. So if it's it's a really low power machine that you've either got or you buy, you can turn them off. And then the most fun bit of the game, which is the designing, building, that's, in my opinion, you shouldn't have any problem with that, so long as you sort of stick below, you don't try and build a megabase with a potato, basically. You won't have any problems because it really is incredibly well optimized. And my machine, it's a real hybrid, my machine, in that it's this, like, CPU is like 5 generations old now, 4 generations, I can't remember. That must be, well, when the next one comes out later this year, the next Intel, It's like 5 generations old, so it's like 8 or 9 years old nearly, in terms of CPU. But then the RAM is only a couple of years old, and is quite low latency. And then my GPU is a 2080 Ti, which is obviously quite new, but you don't need a good graphics card for Factorio. It's your CPU and the RAM, and particularly the latency of the RAM. I say so. Mine's not actually all that. I mean, it was, when I built it all those years ago, it was powerful, but now it's it's old, and that's one of. I mean, I need to upgrade, but like everybody, there's no, you can't buy chips or anything, so. So yeah, so I say, I mean, you don't need a massively powerful machine. It was that way with SimCity 2000. I was like the beginning and got bored when it was huge. Yeah, it's one of. I mean, the whole purpose of this series is by doing it on stream and sort of forcing me to do the big Megabase, because I just get bored, if I'm honest. And like I've beginning of the stream, I was moaning about clearing out the biters. I should take more of a tip out of old Neil House's book with how he's automated a lot of that stuff, because it is just tedious, to be honest with you. Right, so I haven't solved this problem yet. So what we need to do is feed in lots of green circuits here, and I'm currently thinking the best way of doing that is to feed them up here like that. The reason I'm thinking that is because we can then feed red circuits across like so, with a little cheeky thing there to stop contamination, and we have enough red circuits to make it 1-to-1. So in other words, there's no complicated belt chains of material going all the way across, with the exception of the blue circuits. And if this isn't enough, I could always stick in a little bonus extra lane here with a long-handed on it, just as a booster. Yeah, okay. Let's go with that plan and see if it works. What we can do there is probably put that there. So this is green, because they're really hungry for green circuits. But everything else is fine. So actually, if I put a blue one there and a blue one there, and yeah, well, in fact, I'll make that symmetrical. In fact, I might move that up so I can tell the difference. So yeah, we need to feed in 2 lots of green circuits for every one of these. So what I'm going to do like the middle one's going to be like half and half, but we'll do green into the bottom and green into the top because we need so many. Because we also need to feed green, and plastic into this, but these are a lot less hungry. It's only two circuits, and it won't be running full time anyway. Right, so what we can just do is a good old thing here, like this, and it's just easier to get these outputting on both sides, like so. So, Ian, have you? You've never played the game at all, or do you mean have you got a PC that just won't run it, or? So that's the circuit. So we're going to obviously need copper. Oh, actually, it would have been better to put this over there then, wouldn't it? Oh, why is that not? Oh, it is, sorry. I just think it might be better to put this on this side because we've already got the copper arranged here. I mean, we probably need copper for Number of security alerts is just growing and growing and growing. Don't we need copper? I mean, we're going to need copper for them anyway. Yeah, well, because of the green circuits at the very least. And what are you made of? You're made of, yeah, green circuits. Oh yeah, and obviously the batteries. But I'm debating whether to make them locally or have like a separate, you know. I don't know that, because batteries are obviously made in. Yeah, I think I'm going to put this on the other side. So if we just cut and paste this. I'll plop it over here and flip it. No, flip it that way. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah, so, you know, we will have the challenge, and I always do with these, of getting everything in. But it should be okay because we can snake everything round. He says, because I'm going to need the machines to make the green circuits. Okay, I think with this one, because it's so complicated, I'm going to make the green circuits. It might be close by, but I'm not going to put the green circuits in the build like I have done before. And we'll either have them brought in by train, or we'll have them, just brought over by belt. So it'll be a separate build, and I could just copy up my other one, that I've got already for the green circuit build. Yeah, so a bit like the plastic, where it's close by, but it's a separate build. Okay. Where's the other greens? Let's come in there. Okay. That's not very convenient of you. Let's do. I have to belt spaghetti this round anyway. Yeah. Okay. Right. So these are going to be green circuits as well. So these two are green circuits. And this will be a bit tidier here for these. So, can I copy this up? No? Now, I never played the game, but I find it intriguing, even worse than a slow PC. I have a Mac with a big Sur. I'm not sure what a Big Sur is, I'm afraid. There is isn't there a Mac version of the game, though? Or is that... I don't know, it might be Linux version. Because I do remember them advertising for quite a long time on the, on their website for... Oh no, it must have been Linux. Because they were desperate to find a developer for Linux, basically. Or was it... I don't know. I don't know now that I think about it. So we want green circuits in here as well. So they'll be going in like that. Let's assume we only need one input. There. And green circuits. Like that. Oops. And then this will have copper again. I could have copied the whole thing. Like that. Oh, none of these have got prods in, have they? So that's that. This one almost certainly will actually need double insertion. Helps if you get it the right way around. So that's copper. And then mirror image on this side. Like that. Why are you not oh, I know. Because that wasn't what I meant it to do. So we should have green circuits on one side and plastic on the other. I have to clear that off. There we go. So let's copy them up. Like that. And flip it that way. Yep. Like that. And then this one's green circuits coming in here. Oh, I don't need to do that, do I? So we're going to have green circuits there. Green circuits up the middle. Like that. Some blue inserters. We want that coming over there. With fast inserter. I don't know why I'm mirroring this myself rather than... Because that needs to be... inserting there, doesn't it? So that's on that side. Actually, it's wrong because that's like that. And now I've got nowhere near. Oh, there we go. Oh, it's the operating system. Okay. I don't support Big Sur, but they do support the older Mac OS. Oh, okay. So I've never really... I think I've used a Mac once when I was at university, basically. I don't say that with any kind of preference either way, really. I just it's just what I've used, basically. So I needed 7 of these. So we had... No, it's 6. Is that right? Because I need 42. So it's 6 of these. So it's basically 3 lots of this. So, because that's 2. That becomes 4. And that's 6. So let's hook everything up and make sure all these machines run. Yeah, so we want green circuits, green circuits, green circuits, green circuits. We want plastic, 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 plastic. We want copper, copper. I mean, again, it's like copper cables are massively overproducing. But, you know, that's entirely fine, as far as I'm concerned. Green circuits there. So we've got this weird design because I've just copied it over. I'll do these 2. Oh, no. There, and there. extra of these. Like so. Oh, I need to hook up sulfuric acid, don't we? Otherwise I'm not going to get any blue circuits. How am I going to do that? Ah, there we go. You get also cheaty fluid producers. I'm not sure I've got any on me. Oh, there we go. Fluid source. So basically, this will just magically produce sulfuric acid. And obviously, you know, it's not... oh, I've missed one, haven't I? No, that's fine. It's like a tiny amount of sulfuric acid we need, so it's like... It won't quite look like that, but that's fine. So are they all running? They are, but they've got nowhere to put anything. Okay, so if we take... Oops. We take this here. Like that. And one of these. Copy and paste this across here. Let's make sure blue circuits make their way through. Well, they would if that was the right way around. There we go. So, blue circuits are being made. So what we can do, if we copy that, so this is the hookup for blue circuits here. And then I'll copy this one. Oops. Don't want to cut and paste it. Once. And I'll check what the belts are doing. So that's fine, isn't it? No, it isn't. What's going on there? That should be a belt, shouldn't it? There we go. Yeah. Should be a belt like that. That should just be undergrounds there. That should be about. That should be about. That should be about. That should be about. That one there. Take that out just for tidiness, not to confuse me. So you're making blue circuits, you're making blue circuits. Okay, so everyone's running. So what we do now is we copy this one. So that gives me 3 rows. And then what we'll do, we'll flip this over. Which flip? See that flip? I think that's the right flip. We'll see. And we need to plot this down. Yeah, it must be the right flip because the pipes are on the right side. But this is all wrong, basically, all of this side of it. In fact, how am I going to do that? Might be better if I didn't flip it. Is that lined properly? Let's give that a go. And instead of flipping it, I reverse these belts. Yeah, I think that's probably what I need to do. So they need to be... Are you running 100%? You are. You see, it's trying to put 40 in. And what would happen is if I just had these, because it's only like, it's not quite enough, and these ones at the top wouldn't quite run at full chat. So I need to insert, I mean, I could do a thing where I boost it up, but we've got so many, you know, lines of belts and all sorts going on here that I could well get that wrong. So what I'm intending to do is bring green circuits in the top for these machines, but because the reds don't use very much, I could probably just keep this. So this side of it is still going straight up, and it's these that suddenly flip to being down. Yeah, I think that's all I need to do, basically. So in other words, I need to flip all of these round. I've left the middle because that'll be a hybrid where they're both, you know, belts are coming in from both directions, basically. You know, it's like whatever's left in the middle. So that needs flipping that way. That needs flipping that way. Did I get them? I find underground's one of the most difficult things to understand. No, I've already obviously done that. Not understand, to pass, to see, you know, what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. Because the arrows, you know, are just a little bit too indistinct. I say it's where I usually make the errors, basically. In the getting the belts the wrong way around. So hopefully that's okay. And what we can do is just copy that up for these, like so, and feed green circuits. We can also see if it makes it through. Why has it got that bit of belt there? Because I've not taken it out of there, that's why. Yeah. Right, so let's just hook up this while I'm doing it. Okay, let's make it a bit tidier, a bit even. Green circuits, copy and paste that. I didn't ask you. I mean, what are you? You said you're on VOD number 9, which is that trains? Is that the one where I do the train designs? Sounds about right. Might not be. But what do you think of it so far? I'd say the sort of early series, the early part of the series, I would say is a pretty good playthrough. I do make a few errors, as I always do, but I think it sort of works as a, you know, I mean, I wasn't doing it as a tutorial or anything, but I think it works as a, this is how I play the game, you know, rough guide. In terms of this phase of it, I'm not sure that's quite as good. It's because I don't, you know, I don't know what I'm doing with scale. You know, this sort of scale rather. Right, so the middle part, can I copy and paste it? I mean, I can copy and paste these bits, absolutely no problem, because that's just the same thing going on. In fact, have I got enough red circuit machines? So I got 7, 14, 21, 28. Yeah, there's loads. Way more red circuits than I need. Cool. Okay. So we plop these in. I'm looking for something that's better found on my hotbar. He's not making... Oh, he wouldn't because there's no pipe connection, is there? Let's copy and paste that, in fact. So let's do that. Right, and I need this bit. That bit's fine. So that bit says fine on all of them. Oh, I should have grabbed the pipe as well. Oh. Let's just plop these in. Because you know those are fine. Do that as well. Cool. Trains, yeah, I like it. So, oh, hello, Belchbelly. So, you're going full on creative mode now. When I get to this part of the game, I saw mods like Terrawind, beacons, and such. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep it vanilla just for my first ever time doing a Megabase sort of thing. But I mean, I've not gone creative full on. It's basically this is how I've been doing the designs anyway. So when I in the main save have been placing down the red science build, it's already been designed here. And a lot of it's about me testing the maths more than the design as such. I'm using exactly the same inserters and ways of doing things over and over again, really. But it's more about testing the numbers and making sure it all works and how I do it. And what I've actually been doing, you've probably noticed or seen me doing it, is I take screenshots. So I'm not transferring a blueprint over it. I'm not cheating it in that way. It's just that I know where I'm basically doing it. And they do end up slightly differently because some things I forget to screenshot and some things actually it turns out I didn't actually do properly here. But I have been doing this all the time with all these big science builds. And it's mainly to get around the issue of copying, so when I'm doing this, if I pick up all of these cables in the proper game, I've just then got a million cables to sort out. And it just takes all of that pain away. And I can just paste down the same things over and over, and just when you undo them, they just disappear. You don't have bots going and doing it and all that sort of stuff. So it's just easier to do the designs like this. But then in the actual game, I am doing them properly, as it were. It's almost the equivalent of someone having a set of blueprints, I would say, that they're reusing. But of course, I've never done it, and I don't want to do other people's blueprints. Why is that one not running? Because it's not getting some. Oh, something's gone wrong there, isn't it? Oh, it's because I've put that on the wrong side. Why have I put that on? Oh, I see. I copied and pasted it over the wrong thing. So, actually, I want it on that side. But like that, so I'm picking all this stuff up, and it's just disappearing, and that it's just easier to manage, really. So this will be wrong as well, won't it? Yeah, there we go. So you can say it makes sense how you start off, only make what you need and carry on, then you will tear it all up in the end. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you're very much in the. I think I was designing the trains while it was building the bus, wasn't I? So yeah, I mean, because the bus is, the bus. Well, I was going to show you, but it's obviously on a different map. But the bus is like permanent, so that's more designed, and the rest of it, certainly the initial starter base phase, I very much go for a. Let's just get on with it. Let's do it. And I know, like Neil House and stuff, it's more planned out, and for because he uses city blocks, and he just he uses the same city block throughout the entire game. That's not how I do it, because as I've always tended to design things as I need them, in a sense. So I design the trains every time I play. And so it's one of the learnings from this series. If I ever do go big, or I do one of these mods where you need enormous amounts of stuff, I'd probably spend some time designing some blueprints. So stress testing designs, I couldn't call blueprinting your own designs cheating. But it's filling in with green circuits. Yeah, so I mean it's really just about that, because I can set limits to everything, and then I don't get an inventory full of iron ore as when I'm playing about with stuff. And obviously I'm using the cheaty things, but I know how to build a circuit build that will produce these, and just copy it up a bunch of times. So it's cheating, but not cheating. Well, I mean, it's creative mode. It's about the designs, isn't it? So I need to redo that because I messed all of that up. So I need to copy this bit rather than the other bit. So it's that bit and that bit and that bit, and then we need these inserted. Oh, why didn't that? Like that, and that's connected already. I need that there. Yeah, that's fine. And that's connected. And we do that there. Across to there. Okay, so we need to have these still coming in at the top. This might get interesting. We've got one coming up there, like that. And we've got one coming down there, like that. Okay, I wasn't expecting it. Of course, they're opposing directions, aren't they? Maybe if I just do that. Obviously, I mean, these won't be like full when it's actually running. It'll just be whatever's left out of all of these 4 lanes. Oh, I don't need a stack. Yeah, okay, that sort of works. So if we do a copy of this and put it, which one? That one? And that one? And not that one. No. And then we do the other one for the other direction, which is basically the same, but also different. Well, I don't have power on these. Do I need it? Not sure if I do, but... let's leave it for the time being. So... we've got red circuits coming this way this time. Oh, I've done it again. Like that. And then where that's that green. All right, so we've got green circuits here this time. And there. Yeah. So if I put a bell going that way. Yeah. So if we then copy this one. I don't know, all of that bit, say. And plop that one there. And there. Cool. Okay. I keep the starter bases here, and those are handy for making everything you need to scale up. Kind of like the old part of town. So I tend to just tear it all down It does. I mean, you know, I had thought about tearing the bus down, but it was like there's going to be so much rubbish, and I need it to keep making circuit, particularly modules and belts. Because I say that's another thing I would change or do differently, is that I would have, you know, I would build a dedicated module factory a lot earlier and build it somewhere else and completely separate, and also build a belt factory and not have solar panels. Well, I'd still make them on the bus, but not have solar panels for the big solar field would be a separate factory as well. Because I kind of thought maybe I can get away with what I've got, but particularly the belts. I mean, I've occasionally completely run out of belts. Just trying to think I've missed anything. And it's taken me so long. I've done so many, you know, mining prods. I think actually I should have shifted to like a bot based build or something, or maybe even trains, because it's taken me so long to get there. It's like you know, past the point where belts are the easiest way of doing it. What I think I'm going to do as like a temporary check is, in fact, what we'll do, because I'm not sure. In fact, let's just copy it up and do it that way. I'm not sure whether I want to make robot frames in quite the same way, because they're so complicated that it feels like a dedicated robot frame factory might be the way to go, because there's so much to them that having everything here is probably not practical. But what I want to do just temporarily, to make sure that the other two sort of work, is we'll just have a GT1 here, because I'm also aware it's actually 20 past 5, so there's not actually that long left on this stream today. So if I just stick, well, I won't even have them, will I? Robot frames. Thank you very much. Yeah, so if I just stick some of them in there, and we will test out whether it will make yellow science. Oops. And whether all of these run. So if we just copy this up. Because I say I'm not 100% sure. Oh, I've gone way too far down there. Okay. I mean, I could do a lot of the same tricks, I guess. Now, if I just copy, plot this on a bunch of them, and say, well, make sure it at least produces yellow science everywhere. Oops. And that the blue circuit build runs properly. And also that we get 5,000-ish yellow beakers, or gold beakers as I call them. I was actually looking at, so I always call, what's it technically called? Productivity, is it? Science purple. And I call this gold. But, I mean, really it's yellow. Gold just seems fancier. I mean, really this is yellow. And if you actually look at the, because I've coloured the trains in. I don't normally do that, but I was just a bit bored. And purple, what I always call purple, is actually pink. And one of the reasons I call it purple is if you look on the wiki. In fact, it might be here. No, you see that it's like a pink colour. I don't know if you can tell. That's purple, and that's pink. And if you look, that is the same colour as that. But on the wiki, yeah, got it purple too. On the wiki and like on the website things, it's a different colour. It's actually purple on the wiki, and what they've done there is pink. And I'm guessing that's because it doesn't stand out enough. If you make it a purple, it probably doesn't. It's not like distinct enough. And because this is, I mean, that's more pink than purple. And I'm guessing that it doesn't quite stand out enough if it's a purple. But yeah, so it's different colour on the wiki than it is on the thing. But yeah, I always call this gold because it just sounds fancier, but it's yellow really. Utility science. I know some people call. I always call it grey, but you know, a lot of people call it black as well, don't they? But I did one of the things. I'm pretty sure it's Bob's. It changes. Obviously, it introduces lots more science packs, and it changes the shape of them. And I think that's a brilliant idea, because I imagine if you're colourblind, because a lot of people are red-green colourblind, so I imagine they can't even tell those two apart. And if they're the exact same shape, how can you tell whether you've got red science or green science? And I don't think it has too many accessibility options. It's probably one of their main failings really. So in Bob's, I say one of those is like square, and one of them's more like a star shape sort of thing. Oh. Thank you very much for the follow, Joppy. You call them potions. Yeah, people. I just call them science, basically. So it's red science, green science, black science. But I know, as you say, people call them potions, which they are really. They are potions. But they also are beakers. I know a lot of people call them beakers because it's a sort of a. It's actually, isn't it a dewy flask, something like that? But it's it's a beaker full of a potion. So yeah. It's just it's fascinating what people, because you get it on Reddit in particular, where people will use a term and it's because that's what they've the term they've thought of, and you sort of read it through and you're going, what are they talking about? Oh, they mean that. So just I don't know if you've been watching or but just to explain, this episode is a bit different to my usual streams, Joppy. Basically, I'm trying to build a Megabase. I've got like 2,000 hours in the game, and I've never made a Megabase because it gets to a point usually when I'm playing where I get a bit bored, and I just want to restart the game. So basically, the idea of this stream series is that if there's people to chat to and watching me do it and stuff like that, it'll sort of force me to make that Megabase. And as I say, I'm sort of going for a 5,000 science per minute build. And so what I'm actually doing, what I was going to show here as well, is I've been designing in creative mode. This is in the mod creative mode, if you're familiar with that one. There's a few that do the same sort of thing, but I've been sort of designing them to try and make 5,000. And as much as possible, I'm sort of doing local smelting and belting in and sort of training in the basic materials, so like copper plates. And then as much as possible doing localized production. So this was the red science build. And so I was making the cogs, a gear wheel, sorry, on, at the same place as these. So feeding in what they need as much as possible. And one of my debates, I'm sort of stalling while this chunks through. But one of my debates is whether I make the robot frames on site or I maybe make them and train them in, or because the recipe for them is sufficiently complicated that I'm not sure building them locally is necessarily a real benefit, or is going to be more complicated than I want. Because when I was doing the purple science, where's purple science? Down here. So I was doing the purple science. I had this whole thing where this spaghettiness here was basically because I needed to feed in red circuits, obviously for the steel furnace production, but obviously I needed a heck of a lot of steel for the steel furnaces, but you can't fit. So if I had this as along here, so I've got 6 like rows of steel furnace going on. If you put if it was just 3 rows, there would be too much. It'd be basically the lanes fill up. You need slightly over a lane worth of steel, and so it would fill up. But also, it was difficult to get the material in a lot of these cases. And I say, so what I've already decided green circuits I'm going to produce elsewhere and belt them in this, train them in, or well maybe belt them in, but in a separate build. So I'm not going to do this type of thing for the green, for gold science. But yeah, so I say this is a bit of a different one because what I've been doing that like between streams, in my after work basically, but I didn't really get a chance, and also I thought it might be worthwhile just seeing, just putting it down, on tape as it were. Right, so hopefully this is all chunked through, and every machine is at least sort of making gold science. So we can have a look at the production graph. I'll trim that down to science. Okay. Oh, that's averaged. Yeah, so there we go. So the target with this is about 5. It's like 5,370, which is actually on the thing here. So that's the production target basically. And I say I want the base overall to do 5,000, so I'm sort of overproducing in case I get bottlenecks and trains don't work properly and all that sort of stuff. So this is running as expected. So hopefully there aren't any machines not particularly running. Okay, so everyone's getting blue circuits. Are all of these running? This one doesn't seem to be. Why were you stopped? So it's filling up with blue circuits, which is kind of as anticipated. Because I'm way overproducing blue circuits. Just going to have a look at the one at the bottom. In the middle, sorry. What are you doing? You're running okay. Okay. I can always, when it comes to it, maybe stick in an extra. Oh, in fact. Oh no, that is the middle one. I can stick in a, make one of these a stack inserter, and it should be okay. Okay. So that's running. What about the low density structure? So you're full. Okay. Again, these I'm overproducing, deliberately. Yeah, got all sorts of weirdness going on with belts there. I mean, this plastic. Oh, in fact, this isn't even eaten through the steel that was, left on that belt. Well, it wouldn't if it's stopping. Okay, so I'm happy that is probably about right. So, job is. I've never built a Megabase either. Interesting to watch the process. Makes sense to figure it out in creative. So it'll be a combination of trains and belts, or we'll be use this logistic box too. So I'm going to try and do belts with trains to deliver everything. So I'm not going to do any, where you can directly unload. Don't know if you've seen these, but you can directly unload, into machines basically. Does it work out with? And then you obviously have some way of getting around the gap. A lot of people do. You can do corners, can't you? With chests basically. So I'm not going to do any of that type of stuff. I hope, mainly because it sort of breaks my head, and I think it's a bit weird. And you can also do the thing with cars, can't you, where you unload into cars and have stuff going into a car and out of a car. So I'm not intending to do any of that stuff. Bots, if it turns out that this base, when I turn it all on, is, the UPS drops to nothing and actually bots would be a, less intensive way, I think I may just kill the series. Maybe have another go at it, another pass at it at some point, because no, I'm not going to do bot builds, but not because I'm fundamentally opposed to them, but it would mean ripping everything up and starting again anyway. So yeah, so what I'm doing here is just trying to come up with designs that kind of work for the 5000. And so what I've been going through today, you'll have to apologize for all the warnings. It's because I'm having some weird Wi-Fi issues. It's basically I'm trying to work out like nice round numbers for all of the machines, because 56 is 7 by 8, and then I've added in extra production to those two so that I can get 120 of those, which is a nice number that divides by 8. So we've got 15, I think it is, rows of them, and then we've got 42 is a nice number that divides by 7. So we've got 6 rows of them. And we need to do exactly the same thing now for the robot frames. Because I will make the actual frames here. The debate I've got is whether the things like batteries and electric engines I also make here, because they're such complicated things to make with sufficiently complex chains that I'm thinking maybe I make them somewhere else and either, have belts bring them across, or, I deliver them by train. Because what I'm trying to do is make the builds as self-contained as I possibly can. But looking at these, so if we have 38 of them, basically we need to boost that up to 42 as well, because it's the same sort of number. So if we add in some robot frames, which are where? There. Does 260 do the job? No, that's too many. So 100. 41.2, so maybe 125? 135? No, 130? There we go. So that gets us 42 machines. So that's a nice, 6x7 grid. And to support that, we only need 15 batteries, or 16, I guess, chemical plants making batteries. So that's not too many. Doesn't divide up very well by 7, though, does it? Or 6. Electric engines, 15, again, doesn't really divide nicely by 7. Right, okay. So we'll take these out. Like so. And then if this was robot frames... I wonder. So let's have a look at it again. So if we got 42, 7, 6, 12... I mean, I don't mind massively overproducing things like batteries. If we do a similar sort of thing. It's the fact that I'm also going to have to feed in engines. And these aren't even half ratios. I mean, it's only... The other thing, I suppose, it's only 0.8 of a belt and 0.4 of a belt. So it would be fairly easy to sort of load half belts in, you know, load combined belts in. Because these also, yeah, they need quite a bit of stuff as well. Okay. So, if I essentially admit defeat in terms of localized production for these, what might this look like? Because I need to feed in 2, 3. In fact, are any of them? Because I need to make the steel here as well, is part of the thing. How many steel furnaces? Have I turned everything else off? So it's 25 steel furnaces, you see. Which is what? 7, 14, 21, 28. So it's like 4 rows of steel furnaces as well. It was 6 of these, wasn't it? So if I copy and paste that up, missed, like that. Oops. Right. Because I say none of them are particularly large volumes of stuff coming in. It's just the issue of where I make them. I wonder if, because it's 6, isn't it? 6, 12, 18. So I could potentially make one of these here. What else does it need? Does it need? It needs green circuits as well, doesn't it? Yeah. And is it a lane of green circuits at all? Yeah, it's 2 lanes of green circuits. But that's divided across like 6 or 7, isn't it? So it's not that many. Okay. So I think at the least I need 6 rows of these to give me my 6 by 7. 3, 4, 5, 6. So it should be 42. 42. Because what I'm thinking is we perhaps try and make batteries at the top. Because the other issue I'm going to have, I could probably get around that, is if I put the electric engines, you know, here, you know, fed them up, I'm blocked off on one side. And there's quite a lot to feed in for an electric engine, because there's the actual engine itself as well as lube and more green circuits. So yeah, I think electric engines I'm going to make, perhaps not, you know, a completely separate factory, but somewhere else, and then just belt them over. So they're not structurally part of this. I mean, I could always leave a gap. You know, I could have like a gap here and put like the electric engines further down or something. It's difficult to tell because, you know, I could put... Have I even got any? There we go. I could put the battery production here, you see. In fact, yeah. I could put the battery production here. And obviously I've got the copper coming this way. But will there be enough copper left to feed all of these battery machines? You know, battery factories? You know, probably. But maybe not. I think I'm willing to risk that, though. It'd be quite cool to have a fully self-contained build. And if I put the electric engines at the top, I've got more room. Yeah, I like that idea, actually. We'll give it a go. So what it'll end up being, basically, is 3 rows of batteries. These are a pain to make, because we need stuff here, don't we? Right, let's stick some of them in first. Like that. So I need to feed in this copper. I've got a second row of copper, actually. Oh, I have, haven't I? Huh. Why not do something funky? Have I got a... and combine them together? Oh, I quite like that idea. Hello, Melody, Happy Mia. I hope you're well. I'm okay. Can I calculate? I mean, I probably could, but I tend to be more of a practical builder than a... I say I do use the calculator and stuff, but then when it comes down to it, it's almost it's like an almost like experimental thing where I'm like, you know, we do all the experiment, work all the equations, and then I have to go and, you know, hit it with a hammer to make it work. So yeah, I probably could work out the maths on that, but I think I'm going to give it a go with, you know, see if I can get it to work. And if it doesn't work, then, you know, we'll try something else, sort of thing. So it's kind of how all of these have gone with this. So I don't think I'm going to need like that, am I? So that gives me a bit of room. If we do... Because what I'm thinking is that we can half belt, essentially, the batteries. You know, we can put them like that and have a belt coming up here and have half of them... Is that the right side? Yeah. Just wing it. I like that. Good, because that's kind of what I am. Just wing it type of a person, I'm afraid. Right. So, if that's the output of a thing, because what I'm thinking, as I say, is I put basically the batteries on one side, and then you know, we'll have to do that off, you know, somewhere else, as it were, because the green circuit definitely won't fit. Because I only need... Is it less? Oh no, it's slightly more, isn't it? But don't they use green circuits? They do, don't they? Am I getting confused? No, this uses green circuits, but electronic circuits use... electric engines use green circuits, don't they? Yeah. So it makes more sense for the electric engines to be, made up here. So if this is an electric engine machine, like this, and then wherever I, so it definitely won't have the green circuit build here, but we can belt green circuits in and essentially do some kind of magic where, because they're not that hungry for green circuits, are they? It's 2, but they take ages to make. Where basically it has green circuits coming in, and then I output something mad like this, maybe? No, that won't work, will it? So that's going on the... What the heck am I doing? So that's putting it on the inside. And then that puts it on the outside? But then how do I belt multiple ones across? I don't need to? Am I overthinking this? I think I am, aren't I? Because if we had, say, green circuits coming down there and feeding into both of them, we'll have steel will be coming this way, for example. And then we need to get the actual electric engines and batteries. So if batteries are up the middle, so this is steel. How many steel do we need? Only 1. So steel would be there. Batteries would be, say, there. How do I get the electric engines across? Because I've got contraflow, basically. I mean, we can move that. That's no problem. That could be there. Does that help? I mean, it doesn't need to be like that, because it's not producing that much stuff. So maybe those come down that way. So this is the output of there. So steel coming in this way. We need to put, in fact, I could plot them in just by copying and pasting this, couldn't I? So we've got steel furnaces, and we don't actually need as many. What's your output direction? Your output is... Where's your output? Flip that way? No. Flip that way? No. Oh, confused myself. The flip is amazing, so great quality of life feature. But I could never get my head around which is which. So that's technically that, but I want to flip it. No, flip it that way. And then reverse the belts, obviously. Because I'm having the steel... I mean, it could be at the top or the bottom, doesn't really matter. I'll just plop the furnace in. I'm going to manually do it. Because I don't need as many inputs on this. So it's simpler. So we're getting rid of these, are we? So I want it coming out of here. Input in there. Right. Like that. Are you doing okay, Mia? I said. I know you were. I think you're relatively new to the game as well, and I think you've just been. You say you're building your first factory. I'm not sure. So I get a bit mixed up sometimes. Sort of where people are in the with the game. But if I got that right, I hope you're doing well with your build. So this is steel, isn't it? Right. Now, all I need to ensure with this is that I don't overlap it with anything too bonkers. I mean, it would be easiest because we've got to bring iron plate in for the batteries at the bottom. So we might as well go up the bottom as well, if you'll excuse the phrasing. So that's that, and then I like to do these double output ones because it just gives it like the option of outputting whatever. I expect I'll have to go around at some point. I don't imagine that's very optimal, and probably sort of fix it. But so I quite like them for the time being. Saying if we imagine this iron plate coming from the bottom anyway because of the batteries and that. And I think it was 5 columns of these. So let's have a quick look. So steel. I'm not double counting steel there, am I? Because that needs steel. Oh, and the engines do need steel, don't they? So how many steel do I need just for the robot frames? 16 belts worth. 16 machines worth. So if I've got 6, 12, so it's 3 columns. So if I do that, or do I? So if these 3 are feeding directly into these, we could also, in fact, let's put down one more like that. We could just have these ones here and feed it up and route that around for the engines. In fact, maybe we could make the engines here and just belt it across and... Oh, well, there's an idea. So this, I mean, I've said it before on quite a few streams, but this is the bit of the game I enjoy most. Just sort of, what the heck have I done there? Coming up with mad designs. I tend to view Factorio. There's what's he called? The guy who I mean it's long dead. Does the what do they call them? There's like overly complicated machines for doing simple jobs. Where it's like an alarm clock that it's mad pulleys and it's based on a cockerel. Crows in the morning, and that sets off some mad device that wakes you up and gets you out of bed and cooks your breakfast and all that sort of stuff. Rube Goldberg, that's it. That's the guy. I tend to try and view Factorio as a bit of a Rube Goldberg machine. I've just stick everything in and see if it works, sort of thing. So I just added one whole row, didn't I? That spits out steel at the top. Now, how many of those do I actually need? So if we turn off... wait, let me do that. So if I... So it says 16.7, and if we add that back in, then it goes up to 25.2. So it is 16.7. It's like just 9 extra machines, isn't it? That doesn't sound enough. Okay. But we can't, I mean, there aren't 9, there isn't 9 in that row. So if we add on an entire extra row, how many furnaces does that give us? So we want about 26 in total, or at least 26. So if it was that, oh, but I'd have to split it if I did that. Okay. This is the sort of thing I'll work out, when I've got it all down. Do I actually need all these? If one of these rows of furnaces ends up idle, then we can work that out basically. But the basic idea is that these are the steel to feed the actual regular engines. So I need to copy and paste this bit. Except we need power things, don't we? Oh, bugger. So if I get rid of the power from these, those ones, then we're going to end up with power down the bottom, I think. Like that. So if I then just copy and paste that. So the quality of life stuff in this game now is just amazing. I mean, copy and paste is just... And the flip and... I mean, rotate's been in there forever, but... Oh, I missed one. Is that... Did I miss it when I was copying it? Yeah, I did. Okay. So if we just copy that... Like so. So it's coming up to 6 o'clock, which is when I usually end these streams. I stream Factorio from 3 till 6 on Saturdays and Sundays. So I'll be back tomorrow, exactly the same time. We're nearly done with the basic design of this. What I'll need to do, I might actually see if I can fit in like green circuits and plastic tomorrow. Localize the builds to this, whatever we want to call this. I doubt I'll be able to do that. So I might just work out how many machines I need and stuff like that. And then it's a case of essentially what I do is I screen cap this. I don't like to output it as blueprint because that feels a little bit too cheaty. I mean, I guess I could because you've seen the design of this, but certainly when I'm doing the normal builds for all the other ones, I've just screen capped it and tried to copy the basic design, and so then people can at least see, I can talk through the working of it basically. But yeah, so coming up to the end of this stream, I say if you're watching and if you're not a follower, then obviously follow, and we'll continue tomorrow. So we're very nearly done actually. It doesn't normally take me too long to build these. It's just, I say, because I'm doing it after work usually in the evening, I've only got sort of an hour or something, so it sort of takes a week or so to design them. But basically, what we need to do is we need to do the battery along the bottom build here. We need to do electric engines along the top. and that is going to be quite complicated because we also need to produce regular engines, which are going to require pipes and cogs and all that sort of stuff. So that'll be quite interesting fitting that in. But I say I'm going to try my best to have it all built sort of on site together, so that all I have to train in is, iron plates, copper plates. I mean, we don't need bricks, and I guess oil and coal for plastic and sulfuric acid. So, I mean, I could do those builds tomorrow as well. But yeah, so I will literally do nothing, and I will pick up tomorrow. And also, for anyone who has followed me today and hasn't seen the main base, at some point we will hop back over into the main base, and I might end the stream with some biter clearance or something. But basically, that's what I need to do before I can really implement these designs in the main base. Is like clear out 1,000,000 biters and landfill half the blooming map and stuff. So yeah, so I say I think that's it for today, and I need some dinner. I'm quite hungry. So just in case you don't know, I'm Trismegistus. I have a YouTube channel as well, where I archive all the VODs, and you can find those on Tuesdays and Thursdays for Factorio. On Fridays, I also play Satisfactory if that's a game you're interested in. Again, 3 o'clock. A couple of hours of that, and the VODs of that go up on a Friday. So thank you very much for everyone who's joined me and who's been chatting along. Hopefully I'll see you again, and I'll catch you in another one. Cheers. Thanks all.